So, last week, at the end of the 2-Year Eternity chapter, I said, this doesn't feel like the end of a chapter right here. I think next week is going to be 155.9 fucking 9. And I was right. So hello, Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for 2-Year Eternity, chapter 155.99. Because, yeah, 155 will outlast us. Just you fucking wait. Next week will be 155.991, 992, 3, 4, 5, 6. The series will end with 155. That's my hot take. The series will go on in new variations of 155 until the series ends. That is my definitive hot take. But anyway, when we last left our chapter, our little 6-page mini chapter last week, when we last left our heroes, I should say, all hope seemed lost, both for the Occult Club and for Tonari's group. But Tonari's group were saved by all of the Immortals save Bon, specifically Kai, Messar, and Hyro, who had showed up to fight the puppet, and March and the Spirit Bearer, giving the girls a lift out of the school. Bon, and for some dumb fucking reason, Hira fucking Toshi, went to save the Occult Club. And that's kind of it. The Renryrr trio started their fight with the puppet, and then it was all to be continued. Like I said, did not really feel like an end to a chapter last time. So here we are, chapter 155.99, Trusting Heart, part 6, or technically 7, because again, there's the whole mix-up. Way back several weeks ago at the start of 155. But we open with when we last left off, the thing we left off on was the puppet heading towards Messar and Hyro in particular. And then we open here with Kai and an umbrella that it looks like he skewers the puppet through something out of another or something. And the puppet seems like he's this umbrella is caught on a rail or something, and the puppet is skewered by it or something. There's too much going on in that panel for me to be able to make out. It also looks like I can see 5 distinct limbs on the puppet right there. I don't know. Messar also asks, "What are you doing?" And Kai just tells him, "Well, it didn't look like my sword would be much use, but an umbrella would? That's just sort of weird to me." But the puppet quickly breaks through the umbrella because, it's a plastic fucking umbrella. I still don't know what that was supposed to accomplish. Also, at this point, the puppet is so on fire, it's hard for me to be able to make out what the hell is going on with its body or anything. But Messar sort of shocked, lets out this little gah as the puppet breaks free. We can then see a clear foot hit the ground, and the puppet jumps over the Renryrr gang, it's headed towards the bear. And Tonari calls with with the last of her arrows, "Stop it!" And she shoots at the puppet, and Hyro and Messar join in with their various weapons, shooting at it. And it gets caught up in some kind of explosion. And Hyro comments, "We hit it." But Messar presses, "What is that?" And Aiko and Funa both react, "The water tank! Isn't that bad?" Oh, right, the problem there is that if they blow up the water tank, that's where all the knocker water is. And it can now get out and spill all over them, which is not very good. The Messar just asks, "Huh?" As the water tank steams behind him. And then it all spills out. And you can even see the knocker veins in the metal of the water tank. And Funa calls, "Get out of there! If the water hits you, you're dead!" Which, again, as a reminder, before this moment, none of the Immortals knew the knockers were back. But at least, I think they're familiar enough with knockers, even if not really in their, microbial form, that they just, instantly are "That's a bad sign, get the fuck out of there." Because they all do. They all sort of jump out of the way. We see Kai sort of backing away. Messar and Hyro quickly get on the railing above the water. But the water then falls all over the school. I think this is Kasabe's line. "Dodge it, Mr. Bear!" And the bear, backs up. He's also safe, too, I think. And Kai asks the other two, "Are you all right?" Yeah. We see the way the railing works. I think it's important to understand what happened here. Is that there are gaps in the railing, and so Hyro and Messar get above the railing, and then the water flows through the holes, so they're dry. But anyway, after that, Kai asks, "Where'd that monster go?" And they look back, and you can see there's a little silhouette on top of the water tank. And it's the puppet, and he's still fucking alive. He just keeps on not dying. No matter what any of them do, he's just not fucking dying. And Aiko's just, "I don't believe it." And Saki questions, "It recovered?" And Hyro turns to Kai and an apology for blowing up the water tank. "Sorry, we went overboard." But Tonari's ignoring all of this. She's just getting right back onto the shooting the puppet. But then Hyro then asks, "Tonari-san?" And, "Oh, hold on. Oh, we're finally seeing the resolution to the blood splatter from weeks ago. I thought we had dropped that. I thought that had been forgotten in the mix-up. Because Tonari, I think if I'm reading this right, shoots at Hyro and Messar. And as something knocks them back, there's something that seems to knock the two of them back. But it looks like a tree branch. I'm guessing Fushi swooped in and created a tree branch to block the arrow. Either way, Hyro and Messar are still knocked off balance and are falling. And they fall. They are falling. There is still a spirit bear to catch them. Or they just get caught by some of Fushi's roots. So they Fushi's roots are on the wall of the school. They grab onto it. And Messar goes on, "Damn it, now what?" And Kai is talking to the root. "Fushi-san!" And Kai and Hyro look up and they see Tonari jumping onto the roof. And there is this kind of cold emotionlessness to her eyes. She's gone. And Aiko exclaims, "Tonari-san!" And Nagisa, "No way! That was her just now?" And we see Saki's just looks frayed at this point. I also think Kai and Hyro are on the spirit bear because they're a level plane with the girls. But I love seeing it's Saki and Kasabe's hair in particular is all over the place. What the hell happened to her? They're as stressed as they've ever been. But Messar gets right to the point. Was it knockers? And Kai, who again, as I've been saying, it's been easy for at least me to forget that so many of the Immortals don't know any of the plot of the present day arc. Not really. Because Kai protests, "That can't be. Fushi-san destroyed them all." But Messar tells him, "It's sure square with how she's been acting lately. Something was up. We just didn't know about it." And we then cut to Toshi, who is still in this manga for some reason, squaring off with the cultist as Messar continues the monologue. "It's been 500 years. There's no telling how they've changed since then." And yeah, we do see Tonari just very placidly stares at them as she knocks her next arrow. And Hyro calls, "This is no time for talk." And Messar questions, "You gonna kill her?" And Kai protests, "I could never. She's our ally." But we see the puppet then jumps off the water tank, heading towards the group as Messar and Hyro ready their weapons to destroy it. Not really answering the Tonari question for now. But that's where we leave off. So yeah, that all happened. So my first and most pressing question to me, and least pressing question from a rational standpoint, are we going to get part 7/8 of 155? And maybe. This last page works a little better as a cliffhanger than last week's did, but it's still not a great cliffhanger. It's still not as great a cliffhanger as .85's cliffhanger, which really worked as a chapter cliffhanger, is why I'm really shocked that, this isn't 156 right now. Because, like, that bit of the occult club and the girls both simultaneously getting this position of, we thought we were safe, but we're really, really not, really worked as a twist there, as a cliffhanger. And neither of these past two chapters have really ended on a similar cliffhanger. This isn't quite last week's, it just sort of stopped because Oima only wrote 6 pages that week. Or whatever the reasoning is. I'm not going to, like, prescribe why TYE is, like this. But anyway, on to important things. This chapter. And I will say, you know, I've never really met anyone who... And maybe when the anime comes out next year, or when season 2 gets to Renryrr early next year, my opinion might change. I was never a big fan of the Renryrr arc. It was kind of my least favorite arc. In the sense that, like, I don't even really have any thoughts on it. It's been like over a year since I read it, and I didn't like it enough to, like, commit much of it to memory. I didn't hate it enough to commit much of it to memory as well. But I just, like, never really cared for it. It's, in my opinion, one of the weaker arcs in the series. And as a result, I don't have a lot to say about Kai, Hyro, and Messar. Just, like, they're there, they're guys, they're neat. If I think about it, I can remember each of their, like, various, at least elements of their backstory. Like, Messar was, like, the bastard son of the king, right? Or he was somehow tied to the princess in some way. I think Hyro was a soldier of the Bennett Church, I think. And I don't remember at all what Kai's deal was. My point is, I don't care in particular too much about their characters. They're here, like, to me, they're here because they can fight in a way that, like, you know, the modern children and, like, 14-year-old Tonari can't do as well. You know, Kai and Messar and Hyro, they're all at least 18 or so, as I recall. Messar and Kai are, like, in their 20s, and Hyro just graduated, right? In the aftermath, like, when Gugu moved, they both graduated at the same time, I think, if I'm not mistaken there. So, like, they're adults, and they can fight a little bit better than the children can. But really, I think the real point of them being here is to set up, you know, Messar's big bit on page 9. Was it knockers? It's sure square with how she's been acting lately. Something was up, we just didn't know about it. It's been 500 years. There's no telling how they've changed since then. Which, you know, I think is going to be important. Because it's been a big thing for a while now. That, like, Fushi just cannot bring himself to tell his friends about the knockers being back. And that's been, you know, I've been saying for a while that will at some point bite him in the ass. And, you know, on a physical level, this is that point. His friends are in trouble. Tonari's been taken over by the knockers. Shit's bad. And a lot of it is because the gang did not know the threat they were under. You know, Tonari, to her infinite credit, saw the puppet and was like, oh, that's bad, and instantly went into defensive mode. But, like, this all could have been maybe not avoided, but at least ameliorated somewhat by just Fushi being honest much earlier. The whole false peace he gave them is revealing itself to have been bad from the beginning right here. This is the moment. And also the big thing in this chapter is Tonari finally comes under knocker control after getting the blood splat back in some part of 155.5 maybe. I don't know. They've all kind of blended together. So yeah, now is not just the puppet. It's also a brainwashed or a taken over Tonari. Which ain't great. And, you know, there's the question of can they kill Tonari? I mean, like, given who Fushi is, I'm not quite sure why they couldn't kill Tonari, and they'll probably have to. You know, given that, like, there's never really been a cure for knockerification before, as far as I can recall, beyond just, like, killing them and resurrecting. Which very well could be what they end up doing here, is just, you know, having to kill Tonari so that Fushi can bring her back. But then there's also Kai's bits. I could never, she's their ally. We'll see if that ends up becoming a point of contention. Like I said earlier, I don't remember enough about Kai to know if he's just, like, the kind of person who never would kill an ally, even if it was necessary. So I don't really have a whole lot to say about that exactly. But still, A lot of good forward momentum here. A lot of good sort of beginning to see the ramifications of Fushi's stupider actions throughout the early days of the new era. And, you know, there's also just some good action here. And I'm excited to see what exactly, how the battlefield changes now that Tonari's possessed. I don't know. It all just remains to be seen. I'm excited for the action. I'm also excited for that sort of good character drama as Fushi finally gets confronted about all the shit he's been pulling for the past in-universe year. Yeah, that all looks to be fun, and I can't wait to see how all this plays out next time. So with that said, I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you'll enjoy the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. You know, do whatever makes you happy, you know? And as always, your life is your own, okay? Bye!